And by the way, this may be the last time you ever see me.
Religious. Are you religious? Do you believe in something? Anything?
Yeah, believe in me.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you don't believe in anything else? In God, or as in, like, is there something like that?
Well, you can separate God from religion, which is what I do.
Also, this might be the last time you see me religious. Do you believe in God? Do you have faith in anything? Yes, I have faith in myself. Okay, yes. But you don't believe in anything else besides God, right? Anyway, I believe that you can separate God from faith, which is what I do. When someone as steady as Morgan Freeman looks off balance all of a sudden, you know that something very important is happening quickly. For decades, this man's voice has been a sign of power, wisdom, and peace. This meant that seeing him tense and uneasy wasn't acting. It was the truth hitting hard. What came out when he showed up out of the blue wasn't scripted feeling. It was a man seeing the end of a terrible nightmare. The story about Rob Reiner's death has been told with nice words and soft edges for the past 2 days. When people spoke out, they used words that were meant to calm people down, words that are meant to cool things down. But Morgan Freeman didn't do what was written at all. He came out and tore right through the packaging, making everyone see what had been hidden all along. He didn't come forward to comfort her or show his old concern. He spoke up because, in his opinion, the lack of noise around Nick Reiner wasn't a mistake. It was done on purpose. It was made clear by Freeman that ignoring signs for years is not neutrality. It's taking part. That's why what he said hurt so much. This wasn't just a casual business relationship either. While they were making the bucket list, Morgan Freeman and Rob Reiner became very close. That project wasn't just about making things stop. Thoughts, a heritage, and the weight of unfinished business were all part of it. Freeman talked about that Rob was honest about his kids when they were talking late at night on set, but when Nick came up, the mood changed and the air got cold. I sat in that chair, so I know what you're thinking. A lot of the time, people forget that Freeman's job is to closely observe people. He looks at how people act, what they don't say, stress and silence. What he told us about the Reiner family changed everything we thought we knew. He stopped talking in the middle of a sentence, took a step back from the microphone, and looked shaky before saying, "We all saw the cracks and gave Rob the glue to fix them, even though we knew it wouldn't work." Just that line sent shockwaves through the room. While news stories keep talking about the probe and the scene, outside of the Brentwood home, Freeman was thinking about something more important. He talked about how habits, pressure, and years of giving in led to this ending. He wasn't talking about a sudden fall. He was talking about an old, forgotten decline. Then he talked about something that happened 3 years ago but was never made public, a private dinner for people in the business that is only open to them. Nick showed up out of the blue and Freeman said the whole room froze. It felt like danger had quietly sat down at the table, he said. The strain was instant and suffocating. Rob Reiner, who is generally he suddenly shrunk into himself, becoming the quietest person in the room. Freeman said he shrank physically. His voice dropped and his stance changed. That's when it dawned on him. A man in Hollywood who was thought to be invincible was very scared in his own family, and everything changed after that. We're outside of the Los Angeles Superior Courtroom, where important changes have happened in the Nick Reiner case. Nick Reiner, a Hollywood director, and his wife Michelle Singer Reiner were killed. Reiner, 32, went to court for the second time to answer for his crimes. Reiner wore a brown jail outfit to court. He was slouched over his hair a lot. He would sometimes look out over the courtroom while his beard was still fresh, sometimes would give a grim smile, but most of the time just kept looking ahead while everything went on. These are the points where Morgan Freeman's words stop being criticism and start being a warning that was too late. The next thing he said wasn't at all for the public. Freeman says that Rob Reiner got in touch with him a few weeks before everything went wrong. This wasn't a simple catch-up between old friends, according to Freeman. Rob didn't know how to ask the right questions during the late-night call. It was full of fear, confusion, and questions. Freeman said Rob kept coming back to the same subject and asking hypothetical questions that weren't hypothetical at all. We want to know about limits, when love turns into danger, and when it's okay to close the door. On your own kid, it's not comfortable to ask that kind of question. It comes from a need to survive. Take a look at how heavy that is. Rob Reiner, a powerful man who could get any kind of help, asked his son quietly if it was okay for him to protect himself from him. Freeman stated that he had told Rob to keep Michelle safe and to finally get away from all the chaos. He knew Rob wasn't built that way, though, even as he said it. It was Rob's sensitivity that hurt him, which was what made him such a great storyteller. It wasn't just ability that made Stand By Me so moving. It was what he did. And Freeman made it clear that Nick really got that. He knew how to make people feel things and when to do it. This is the main reason why Freeman doesn't believe this was a quick break or a random spiral. Because it's easier to swallow, he fought hard against the neat story that was being told. Freeman said that this wasn't confusion, but rather planning. He chose to use that word on purpose, knowing how bad it sounded. Nick knew the house like it was second nature. He knew the schedule, the entry points, and the times. He knew that his mother would comfort him if he let down his guard. He knew that Rob would try to fix things with resources instead of walls if someone put pressure on him. It was clear that Freeman meant what he said when he said that kindness was used against them. Freeman said that Rob and Michelle weren't careless, which sounds very painful. They were good people who were stuck in a tough spot. They thought that love could still stabilize something that was clearly shaky. They kept hoping that kindness would calm down something that was about to blow up. After that, Freeman changed to the night everything. This is where his story became very different from the published summaries. Reports of the scene used cold, technical language that didn't show any emotion. Freeman painted a much scarier picture based on what he said were direct knowledge from people close to the situation. He brought up something that stood out to him right away. Rob didn't seem to be trying to keep himself safe. Just that one thing changes everything. Acceptance does not mean there is no fight. It means have faith. That means Rob still didn't think his son would cross that line in the very last second. When Freeman talked about what that really means, his voice got weak. Rob wasn't looking at a stranger. He wasn't getting ready for trouble. He stood in front of his child and tried again to calm him down, connect with him, and pull him back from the edge. Freeman said in a low voice that Rob didn't kill himself while fighting someone they didn't know. At the end, he reached out for someone he cared about. That picture stands out from all the noise, the news, and the guesswork. Nothing is left behind but the painful truth of a father who wouldn't believe the worst until he had to. I want to thank everyone who helped make this movie, but I want to thank Freeman the most, which is why he spoke out when everyone else did not. Hollywood usually sticks together in times like these. Under polite distance, stories get softer, details get lost, and uncomfortable facts are buried. But Freeman made it clear that staying quiet was no longer safe for anyone. The only thing it did was hide lessons that should have been learned a long time ago. It's clear that Morgan Freeman no longer cares about leaving behind a polished reputation. For him, the only way to really value Rob Reiner is to stop covering up the lies about Nick Reiner. Along with Freeman's calm speech, there was clear anger bubbling just below the surface. He didn't just talk about Nick. He called out the whole system that was protecting him. After Rob finally put a stop to it, Freeman was very critical of Nick's friends who kept giving him money. The people with ties in the business world who kept opening doors that should have stayed shut. Those who always gave Nick second chances, not because he deserved them, but because of his last name. In one place, Freeman didn't change what he said at all. We made something dangerous by feeding it, and then we left Rob and Michelle to deal with the results, he said. There was more to that than just anger. That was a direct charge against a whole group of friends. That area is very big in a place like Beverly Hills. It fits with rumors that have been going around behind studio doors for years. Nick Reiner wasn't some youngster who was misunderstood. He was an adult and had all the benefits that could be had. He was given access to top-notch recovery programs, top-notch therapy, cash safety nets, and even job openings without having to do anything. A lot of people will never see even one of those tools in their whole lives. There is already a double standard, and Freeman made sure to point it out. He knows exactly what will happen with the defense plan. Almost certainly, people will say that they have bad judgment, less responsibility, or mental instability. Freeman, on the other hand, wasn't waiting for the court to answer. He put an end to that story before it could get going. He said that there was nothing confusing about Nick's mental state. Between the ages of 15 and 19, he had some problems with drugs and alcohol. He went in and out of a number of rehab centers, and it was a very hard time. He said that he talked to him in person. He said Nick was well aware, cunning, and good at playing with people's emotions. Those words have a lot of weight when they come from someone as trustworthy as Freeman. This isn't a rumor.